Hi, let's now continue with the GOTO statement in PLSQL. What is GOTO statement? GOTO statement is a command that transfers the control to a labeled place. With using GOTO statement, you place the cursor of the program directly to the place of the label that we pointed. In previous lecture, we saw that we could directly jump to the next iteration of the loop by using continue command and labels. Now, you will see something better. With GOTO statement, you can go almost anywhere. You can use that almost everywhere. There are some exceptions. I will mention that. Besides, we cannot write a condition for the GOTO statement. If you want to do something like that, we need to use an if statement. So why to use GOTO statement? Sometimes you may need to jump into some place and continue from there while the program runs. Of course, you can handle that with different methods, but GOTO makes that too much easier in many cases, especially when you need to go to the upper sides of your code. With using GOTO statement, you can branch your code. You will understand better when you see some examples. So, how is it used? We simply write our GOTO keyword and the label name where we want to send our execution point. We cannot write when and condition with GOTO statement. If you want to use GOTO with some conditions, we need to use if statements before it. Pretty simple. If you say go, it goes to the place where you want. You can go to anywhere of your code with GOTO statement, but there are some restrictions about GOTO statement. I mean, you cannot go to some places with GOTO. If you try to do that, you will have a compilation error. For example, you cannot go into an if statement, case statement, or a loop with GOTO statement. You cannot go into an inner block from an outer block, but you can jump from inner to the outer. If you are in a subprogram like a function, procedure, etc., you cannot go out of it with using GOTO statement. If you are in an exception handler block, you cannot go out of it. But there is a trick in here. If your exception handler is in an inner block, then you can jump into a place in the outer block. But you cannot go into the current or inner block. Maybe this can be asked in an exam, since this is a detail that so many people may confuse about that. So let's make examples then. Okay, let's now create a prime number finder program. So let's start with our declare. Now let's declare our search number and Boolean flag value. V search number is a number and the value is 22. And V is prime is a Boolean and its value is true. Now B. Now, how do you find a prime number? We test from 2 to 1 less value if it is divided or not. So we need to have a loop now. Let's say for x in 2 dot dot and v source number minus 1 and loop. If the number v source can be divided without any remainder, that means it is not a prime number. So we need to check if its mod is equal to 0. So I write if our number mod x is equal to 0, then if it is divided without a remainder, we print that this is not a prime number and then assign our flag value to false. dbms output dot put line is not number and v is prime is equal to false. Now we need to finish our loop. We can use exit keyword, but also we can use GOTO statement and jump somewhere out of the loop. So I simply write go to and our endpoint. And if and end loop. Now in here we test if our flag is true. I need to write that our number is a prime number. So if v is prime, then if v is prime is true, then now let me copy that and paste in here, is a prime number. In the loop, we said that jump into the endpoint. We found that our number is a prime number. We printed it, then we jumped into the endpoint. Now we can finish our code in here. So let's write our endpoint. Now let's print that we done with the check. And our end keyword. Great. What we did in here? Our goal is to find if a number that we specified is a prime number or not. We specified two numbers. First one is the number that we will check. The second one is our Boolean flag variable to keep if it is a prime number or not. Then we created a loop to check if our number can be divided into a number or not. If it is divided with some value, we printed that our number is not a prime number, set our flag to false, and directly jumped out of our loop with using GOTO statement and our label. If our value cannot be divided into any number, we continued and checked if our flag is true. If true, that means our number is a prime number, so we printed that it is a prime number and continued with the check complete. Now let's run our code and see if 22 is a prime number or not. Now let's write a v in here and clear up and run again. As we can see, 22 is not a prime number. Let's now change our number to 29 and run it again. Yes, 29 is a prime number. Let's now try some very big number. For example, let's say 3, 2, 4, 5, 3, for example. Let's clear and run it again. Perfect. We quickly found that this is not a prime number. Now, let's comment the check complete DBMS output and run again. As we see, we had an error, because we cannot go directly to the end of our code. There must be something executable after your label. So now let's uncomment our DBMS output. Now, this time we jump to a place downwards. Can we jump up to? Yes. Now let's change our code and try this. Let's declare our number x in here because I will delete the loop. X is a number and it is equal to 2. Now, I want to delete the loop and make something that does the same job with using GOTO statement. So I want to come back into here when I want that. So I will create a label in here and delete our loop. Start point. Now let's delete our loop. I need to increase the value of x to avoid infinite loop. So x is equal to x plus 1. Now, if our test value x reaches to the same number of our search number, I need to jump to the prime point to finish the loop. So I write if our x is equal to our number, then go to prime point and our end. If it is not equal, then I need to go to the top and check again with the new value of our test variable x. So let's jump into the start point now. Go to start point. Now, here is our prime point. If x and v search number is equal to each other, that means no value divides our search number. So jump into here. Otherwise, we would have an infinite loop. So I need to write our prime point label in here. Great. We have our own loop now. We made it with using GOTO statement. Let's run it now. I have a mistype in here. Yep. Prime point. Let's clear up here and run it again. As we can see, we succeeded. We could jump into a place up and made our loop with using GOTO opportunity. This is really good. Now in here we checked if our number can be divided. If it is divided, our value is false, and go to the endpoint because we don't need to iterate after that. So if our value is equal to our search number, then go to the prime point. That means we reach to that value and no value can divide this variable. So go to the prime point and say that this is a prime number. If not, then go to the start point. And this turns our code into a loop. You can jump into any place of your code with using GOTO. But there are some exceptions. For example, let's carry our prime point into the if statement and run again. As we can see, we had an error. We cannot jump into a control statement like if, case, loop, etc. We cannot jump out of a subprogram. We cannot jump into an exception handler, and we cannot jump into an inner loop from the outer loop. But the opposite is valid. I think you got the point. Now you know all the things about GOTO statement. So this is the end of the lesson. See you in the next lessons.